Let's look at adverbs a little bit more closely so we can better understand where they come in the sentence. For simple sentences, we're usually going to put the adverb right after the verb. He drives fast, they ate quickly, we played well. These types of sentences that have just a subject followed by a verb, and then we'll put the adverb here. Well and fast, you should note, are specific examples that require the adverb to be after the verb. Our next sentence structure, sentence pattern, is a subject and then a verb, then an adverb, and a preposition plus an object clause. So for example, the teacher, here's our subject, spoke, that's our verb, loudly, there's our adverb, and then to the class. To is our preposition and the class is our object clause. More examples, we drove, so we are the subject, drove is the past tense verb, recklessly means dangerously, basically. Recklessly is the adverb, and then to is our preposition, the airport is our object. And so he, same thing, he yelled, that's our verb, and then directly is our adverb, at the students, which are the direct object, or the object clause, excuse me. And then they is our subject, gave is our verb, generously is our adverb, and to charity, so a preposition object clause. Our next grammar pattern is subject, then verb, and then direct object followed by adverb. Now some of you might still be questioning what a direct object is, and for all of these such questions I urge you to go to our friend Google and just type what is a direct object. And because I did it earlier, it's even got it there in the autocomplete. Direct object is a noun phrase denoting a person or thing that is the recipient of an action of a transitive verb. For example, the dog in Jeremy fed the dog. If you don't like dogs, you put the cat. Jeremy fed his son. Jeremy fed his parrot. Anything there. This is the recipient of this action. Jeremy's the subject. This is our verb. Here's our direct object. It answers the question, what? What did Jeremy feed? Or who did Jeremy feed? And there are thousands and even millions of websites that you can use to look at that more in detail. Now you saw another word here, transitive verb. Maybe you're questioning what that is. What's a transitive verb? Well, and then Google even gives us the answer. It's such an easy one. A transitive verb is a verb that can take a direct object. Right? So she played the piano. What did she play? She played the piano. The direct object is immediately following the verb. It's going to answer the question who or what. She played what? She played the piano. Right? Most verbs are transitive. A transitive verb contrasts with an intransitive verb. So what is an intransitive verb? An intransitive verb has two characteristics. First, it's an action verb expressing a doable activity like arrive, go, lie, sneeze, sit, die, etc. Second, unlike a transitive verb, it will not always have a direct object receiving the action. So these are these verbs that we can use right after the subject and then end the sentence. I eat. I will go. That's not a very strong one. He teaches. They, can we say they like? No, they like what? So that must be a transitive verb. They write. That's intransitive. It does not need a direct object. It can also be a transitive verb. They write, say they wrote a paper. There's our object, right? So a lot of verbs can be transitive and intransitive. So he teaches. Yes, it does not need, or excuse me, they can act as transitive verbs. Perhaps he teaches is always a intransitive verb, but sometimes it can act like a transitive verb in that it takes an object. He teaches English. Okay? But basically we have two types of verbs. One, we can end the sentence after the verb, like we think. Right? We don't need to answer any questions about what we think about. We can end the sentence right there. Whereas we cannot end the sentence after we keep. We keep what? So that is a transitive verb. It needs an object. We keep our papers in our bags. Right? It needs a direct object that's transitive. And when we look at these transitive verbs, it's an important thing to consider where we put our adverbs. So let's go back up here. We got off track a little bit with the direct object. Subject, verb, direct object, adverb. Okay, so I drove home fast. I drove home fast. Fast and well, again, are two examples that are exceptions. They must always come after the verb. They can't come before the verb. And so when it comes to a transitive verb, we wouldn't say I drove fast home or we played well the game. So these are transitive verbs. They take a direct object. You drove where? Home is answering the question where. I drove home. How did you drive home? I drove home fast, or I drove home quickly. She read the book quietly. So she's the subject, read is our verb, the book is our direct object. It answers the question, what did she read? And then quietly is answering, how did she read? Okay, so this is what and this is how, right? So we could say, she quietly read the book, but we can't say she read quietly the book because this verb is transitive, meaning that you cannot separate it from the direct object with the adverb. Nothing will go between these two parts. He treated me kindly. Same thing. This is a transitive verb. Here's our direct object. It's the object pronoun this time. So the adverb comes after it. And we'll see down here that we can also put the adverb before the transitive verb. So my friend begrudgingly took me to the restaurant. He didn't want to take me, but he begrudgingly took me. That's how he took me. Took is a transitive verb, and we'll always need a direct object after took. Right? Some transitive verbs don't always need an object. They act like intransitive verbs. Or some intransitive verbs act like transitive verbs, either way. But anyway, my friend is our subject, begrudgingly is our adverb, followed by took. We need a direct object. We can't split these two up. So me, that's our object pronoun, and then to the restaurant, it's our preposition or object clause. Okay? They politely gave the boy some money. Politely is coming before the verb because we can't split up give, gave, and the boy. Who did they give to? They gave to the boy. What did they give him? They gave him some money. Right? So we can't say they gave politely the boy some money. This has to come after, directly after the transitive verb. We happily lent him our car. We are the subject. Happily is our adverb. It's describing the past tense of lend, which is lent. And then our object here is a pronoun him. And then what did we give him, lend him? We lent him our car. How did we lend it to him? We lent it to him happily. Right? They warmly greeted the incoming university students. Notice I have a star here because this is a case where you really need to put the adverb before the transitive verb. Okay? Because the object clause is just getting too long. We've got 4 words. We've got a couple different words that are acting like or are adjectives before our subject, or before our object noun here. Right? So we can't switch it around and put the adverb after the direct object or after the object clause because it's just too long. Right? It starts to get confusing. So we won't say they greeted the incoming university students warmly, just for matters of ease, for simplicity's sake. We'll say they warmly greeted the incoming university students. And it's even clearer in the next example. She calmly repeated every last word that she just said a moment ago. Right? If we're going to describe this verb, repeated, with this word calmly, we can't put it at the end of this object clause because we have another verb which is in the object clause, and it's just too long. Every last word which she just said a moment ago. It's just too many words. It includes even a verb that is part of the object clause. So we won't say she repeated every last word that she said just a moment ago calmly, because that would be too confusing. If you have an object clause that is longer than just a couple words, basically longer than these here, 1 word, 2 words, maybe 3, maybe an article plus an adjective plus a noun. If it's longer than that, it's the best idea just to put the adverb in front of the verb. Okay? And again, transitive verbs, you can find them on the internet. You can find more information on where adverbs go in a sentence, adverb placement in sentence, and we could say exercises. Maybe you find some exercises here. I've already looked at some of these. Lots and lots and lots of practice on the internet. Right, so our friends must write a test. This is an adverb of frequency, not an adverb of manner. Hardly here is carefully. He drives his car, and then carefully is our adverb. So what does he drive? He drives his car. This must be a direct object because it answers the question what. So can we put he drives carefully his car? No, because this, his car, tells us what. It answers the question what. So it's a direct object. We can say he carefully drives his car, or he drives his car carefully. Either one is fine. They blank listen to music. Again, this is adverb of frequency. They have some slightly different meanings, or slightly different use, excuse me. Yeah, these are all adverbs of frequency. Maybe we can find one more quickly. Exercise, all right. Walks his dog patiently. Here, that's an adverb of manner. She waited. Well, this must be an intransitive verb. There's no object, so the only place it can go, she waited patiently. Or that's the place it'll usually go. What else do we have? Well, this is an example, remember, that can't come before the verb. So cats can hear her well. Cats can hear well. Right? It must come after the verb. And we wouldn't put it here because that's a modal. Can is a modal. We can't say cats can well hear. Cats can hear well. Fluently, that's another adverb of manner. The girl speaks English. English, this must be the direct object because it answers the question what. What does she speak? She speaks English. And so the girl speaks English fluently. That's the best way to say it. And there are dozens and dozens and hundreds of more examples online. Any question you might have about direct object, again, you can find online using your friend Google. Right? So hopefully this explained a little bit more clearly where to put the adverb in the sentence depending on what the verb is and how it's acting in the sentence. One more time, if there is no object, the adverb is generally coming after the verb. These are simple sentences. If there is a preposition like to, at, before, with, these types of things, preposition, and then that's part of or at the beginning of an object clause, and we can put the adverb before the preposition, right? If we have a direct object and a transitive verb, meaning the direct object answers a question who or what or where relating to the verb and the subject, then we're putting the adverb at the end, after the object, right? If we have the same type of situation and a long object clause, we're going to put the adverb before the verb. And if we have a shorter object clause, we can still put it before the verb in order to make things simpler. Okay? So you're going to have to ask yourself, when you see a verb, can I end the sentence without explaining what or who? We keep. We keep what? That begs the question, we keep what? And so this will need a direct object, and then so we can put our adverb either here or we can put it here. Okay? If you want a list of transitive verbs, you can find many, many, many of those by just saying transitive verb list. Okay? Hopefully that helped out a little bit.